Okay, we're finally starting trigonometry.
Hooray!
Yay, trigonometry. Let's learn what it means. Trigonometry is a Greek word, and tri means three, gon means side, and metry means measure. So, what's three sides that we can measure? A triangle. The Greeks did most of their trigonometry discoveries, obviously, with triangles. So we're going to be using a triangle for the next 2 months. All right, so we're going to start off our trigonometry with angles and arcs. And we'll show you how they tie into triangles a little later on. But let's go back to geometry for a second. Remember in geometry you learned, this is quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4, and this went in a counterclockwise rotation. Did you ever wonder why it went this way? How come it didn't start this way? Because after all, that is clockwise. Some of you might have figured it out. Or hopefully Mr. Kinnear or somebody told you that the reason this is quadrant 1 is because this represents a positive and a positive point. So if you were to pick any point in quadrant 1, its x value is positive and its y value is positive. And that's what most of our life is based on. We measure in the positive. We don't measure in the negative. So here we are, and we're going to start with this lovely 360-degree protractor. Look at this. And this is what the Greeks did. They took a regular Cartesian plane, which they didn't know about a Cartesian plane because Descartes came after, way after the Greeks. But they used measures of circles because everything was based on the sun rising and setting. And they tried to figure out everything based on the circle and the triangle. So let's learn a couple of things. First of all, let's just take any angle. Let's take a 50-degree angle. This 50-degree angle has two words or two sides that you have to know what they mean. One is the initial side and the other is the terminal side. So the initial side was right here, an angle that did not open up at all, 0 degrees. We moved in the counterclockwise or the positive direction. So we're moving this way. This is counterclockwise, and it's the positive direction. Once again, because we were moving towards points that were positive, positive. Initial means to begin. That's why you have your initials. They're the first letters of your name. We have the terminal side, and terminal means to end. That's why you have airport terminals and bus terminals. It's a bus stop. It's where the plane stops and you get off. And of course you all have your favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator. That's right, you know what the Terminator did. Now our angles don't have to move only in the positive direction. They can move in the negative direction. That's if I were to start my initial side here and move backwards. Now notice that this little protractor, so this would be my terminal side right here, my protractor always gives me my positive answer. Because it's the smartboard, it's meant for general use, I really should find a protractor somewhere that shows you negative measurement. Because if I go this way, this is clockwise, and that's a negative movement. So actually this blue angle that I just created right here would be called negative 60 degrees because I went backwards 60 degrees. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Or it can have a positive answer of, whoops, keep going, keep going, keep going, 300 degrees. Both get me to the same place. And that brings up our last, well, not our last, but that brings up this word, coterminal angle. We say that negative 60 and 300 are coterminal angles because they terminate in the same place. They both terminated right here. The last word we have to see is quadrantal. And that simply means an angle that ends up right on one of the axes. So that's 90 degrees. We still have an initial side. We still have a terminal side. It just ended up really special. It ended up on one of the axes. So we have 90, 180, 270, 360, if I can get it. So those are your quadrantal angles. 0, 90, 180, 270, 360, and any thereof multiple of 90. Now that's another thing that this protractor doesn't show, but you just don't stop at 360. You keep going. I could actually make an angle that goes, let's say, 420 degrees. So if I wanted to do a 420 degree angle, that means I go 360 degrees plus 60 more. So very simply, I spin around positive 360, and then I go 60 degrees more. Come on. Now, this protractor of the lovely smartboard only shows me between 0 and 360, but I could call this angle 420 degrees. Oh, that's right. I could also call it 780 degrees. Because if I started at 420 and made another complete circle, thus adding on 360 to it, 360 added on to 420 is 780. And I could do that again. And I could add another 360 onto that. And another 360 and another 360. So those are what we're going to play with today. Positive and negative angles. All right, the first part of your homework, tell which quadrant each angle terminates in. Oh, that's not hard. Let's see, 310 degrees. That's positive, so I'm going to move in my positive direction. And 310 is obviously going to be over here in the fourth quadrant. Smack, this is easy. Oh, 45 degrees, do I even have to think of that? 45 degrees is in the first quadrant. Excellent. Wait a second. 3,455? Really? Bring out that calculator. Bring it out, bring it out. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take 3,455 and I'm going to divide it by 360. What this shows me is the 9 represents how many complete times I went around. Now I'm not going to spin this 9 times, but it means I went around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, right? Because 9 times 360 gets me really close. 3,240, really close to 3,455. What I do now is I subtract the 9. I take this remainder, or this is a percentage part, and I multiply it by 360, and it gives me the angle 215. Now I could have looked at this 0.597222 two different ways. The first way was actually to multiply it by 360 because this is a percentage. I took my percentage, multiplied it by my whole, it tells me 215. So I can look at this and go 215 degrees and realize that 215 is here in the third quadrant. Or I can just look at my quadrants as quarters. This is 25%. This is 50%. This is 75%. And then this would be 100%. So let's move these. Up to here is 25%, up to here is 50%, and up to here is 75%. So this is roughly 60%. So where would 60% be? Well, it would be over here, between 50% and 75%, quadrant 3. Let's try that for the next one. Negative 6,590 divided by 360. This tells me I went around 18 times, and then this tells me I went around 31%. But careful, it's negative. So when I'm thinking of this, I'm moving backwards. So there I am. Let's say that was 18 times around backwards, and now 30%. 30% would mean this is 25%, and then this is still 50%. So once again, I'd be here in quadrant 3. And if I wanted to find the exact angle, I could do that, but that's the next page. So I'm again in quadrant 3. Let's try another negative angle, a little smaller. Negative 550 divided by 360. All right. Again, I went backwards one whole revolution. So let's come here. I went backwards one whole revolution, and now I went 53% around backwards. So 25%, 50, and it'd be right here in quadrant 2, 53%, quadrant 2. All right. Last section. For each given angle, find a coterminal angle. What is that? Ah, boys and girls, this is your Greek letter theta. Remember, these were Greeks inventing trigonometry. And our alphabet, A, B, C, D, is an Arabic alphabet. So the Greeks had their own alphabet. Alpha, beta, I think this is kappa, delta. Look, they look like our letters. It's all tied together. But anyway, the Greeks had their own alphabet, and this is theta. We're going to be using the Greek letters in trigonometry. Theta, beta, sigma. You already learned capital sigma. This is small sigma. But let's keep to our angles for today. So 415 degrees. I want to see where 415 degrees would bring me. So first thing we notice is that 415 is positive. So I'm moving in the positive direction. There, I moved 360 degrees. And now I still have to go, how much more? Well, let's see. 415 minus 360 gets me, I still have to go 55 degrees. And guess what? That's my answer. 55 5. 55 is coterminal with 415 because 55, let's make that 55. Come on, there we go. 55 degrees ends right here. If I went 415 degrees, that means I went 360 around and 55 more gets me 415. I end in the same spot. Now, notice some of you may be saying, well, why couldn't we go backwards? Just make this easy. Why couldn't we done this? And say our answer is negative 305. Well, that is a coterminal angle. It does end in the same spot as 55, but however, this problem said that the answer that we put down must be between 0 and 360, and negative 305 is negative and therefore not between 0 and 360. All right, what's my next number? Oh, big number again. All right, let's go to the calculator. 4,509 divided by 360. So I made 12 complete rotations. Let's do 12. Oh, look, 12 rotations. I'm going to minus 12 from that. And I have to go 52% of the way, or 53% of the way. So let's just do this. Since my full circle is 360, and I'm going to multiply it by 52, 5%. 189. Awesome. Nice calculator. So 189 degrees is the same as saying 4,509 degrees. Oh, negative 10. I don't need a calculator for that. I can go backwards 10 degrees, and going backwards 10 degrees is the same as going forward 350, and 350 is indeed in between 0 and 360, so this coterminal angle is 350 degrees. Negative 500, last one, negative 500. So I want to go backwards 500 degrees. So that's 360. 360, 40 more brings me to 400. And I got to go 100 more. So I believe that's 220. Let's check our math. Negative 500 divided by 360 is negative 1.38888888. So that means I went backwards a full rotation. Okay, so I'm going to add on 1, and that gets me the negative 3888888 part. So I'm going to multiply that by 360. I see what that told me? Negative 140. That means my shortcut was I went backwards 140 degrees. So once again, down to there is 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140. Perfect. Backwards 140 degrees, but I can't put that. Negative 140. So I put positive 220. And if you noticed right here, basically it was the absolute value. The absolute value of negative 10 plus the absolute value of 350 should always get me 360. And in this one right here, we saw negative 500 really boil down to negative 140. So 220 absolute value plus negative 40, 140 absolute value gets me 360. Okay, done.